My father, when I was born, was a tenant farmer in Louisiana. We were in pretty bad shape during the Great Depression. And then when I was 11 years old, my mother died. So from the time I was 11 till I was 14, I was in the Mississippi Baptist Orphanage. The principal was a retired judge who was unorthodox, to say the least. And he believed his most important job was to get you ready for life. He taught us to read critically and to be skeptical. He believed you learn mainly by doing, so that's the reason he had us doing a lot of writing. I decided when I was 14 that I could take care of myself. I went down to the Naval Recruiting Station and found out what you had to do to enlist and how old you had to be. They said you got to be 17, but I went out to Judge Buffington's house at night when I knew he couldn't get to his records. When I told him what I was doing, he rolled down his plantation desk and put on his eye shades and got his pen and says, "Well, how old are you, Ray?" And he wrote down what I told him to write down.
The first time I saw him, I fell in love with him. I was 19 and Ray was 18. I thought he was 21, but he was 18. It was very hard because he didn't have a high school diploma, and he just started taking junior college classes. And that he did get to go to Millsaps College. That's a very good Southern school. And then he was able to get a Rockefeller scholarship to go to the University of California at Berkeley.
The question in front of the administration was whether we were going to raise the minimum wage. My principal economic advisors were dead set against it. Ray is a good economist, and I valued his economic advice. But when he came into the Oval Office to talk about this issue, he spoke to me not as an economic analyst, but as a man urging me to do what was morally right. A lot of people were getting raises because they had the economic power to get them. But the people I had asked him to represent did not have the influence to get a raise. If we did not do that, he said, the working poor would find that they would make more money going on welfare than by working, which would compound the wrong, because our society is founded on the premise that work pays more than loafing. The minimum wage was raised. Just as Ray had predicted, inflation did not rise and unemployment remained under control. Ray had earned the undying gratitude of ordinary working people for giving them the dignity that comes from having a chance to earn a decent living and provide for their families. I cannot think of anyone who more deserves the thanks of their president or the people of this country for their contribution to fairness, opportunity, and equality in these United States than Ray Marshall.
Ray just seemed to be much more aware of what needed to change, that the Old South couldn't survive.
He has a value system that starts with people and doing what's right for people. And he instinctively will stand up for those people that he thinks that doesn't have a voice.
I mean, there's a lot of brilliant economists, but Ray gets the way the world works. Ray is in the great tradition of people who saw the importance of institutions in the way the economy worked and who got what and who didn't get anything.
Three people who I think made tremendous impact on me outside of my immediate family: Ray, A. Philip Randolph, and Bayard Rustin. Ray Marshall would be there at the top.
A few months ago, I got a little note from someone in the Department of Labor who said, "You know, Eula, you are known as a giant around here." And I said, "But I'm only 5'7". I was a giant because I stood on Ray Marshall's shoulders.
Whenever I'm asked about who were my mentors, did I ever have a mentor, I always count the big three: Dorothy Height, Ray Marshall, and my first boss at Catholic Charities.
He's probably the single most important influence in my life. I mean, he's my mentor and my friend. I love him.
We worked with Ray on his immigration proposal for shared prosperity. And it was the basis for unifying a very fragmented labor movement around a policy, people who could not agree on where to go. But it was only possible by his tireless effort, his own policy insights and writing, his effective advocacy and political skills were all called on to unify both the fragmented portions of the labor movement and to work with all the immigrant rights groups.
I think he's like one of the most caring persons I've ever known, and feels like he's been so blessed. He likes for other people to share his joy of living. He wants everyone to have the same chances that he had.
Ray Marshall will never be old. His mind is still the way I remember it as a 24 or 25-year-old lawyer when I walked into that room. It's still the same. He still loves ideas. He still loves to educate, and he still likes to take a divergent, a mess, and make order out of it.
Ray Marshall is a fine economist. He is a very smart man. But the world is full of smart people. What is unusual about Ray is that he is that rarest of people. He's a wise man. He's a deeply compassionate man. He is as thoughtful as anybody I know. For Ray, the idea of an inclusive economy, a fair economy, as well as a thriving economy, is an abiding passion. And he has enormous skill in not just thinking about it, but actually making it happen.